We're off. Welcome, everybody, to this month's Intentional Success webinar. We are talking about selling in interesting times, and it's an interesting time right now here in Texas with our really cold weather, the unusual snow and ice. But we're going to make the most of it, and I've put together what I hope will be a great webinar for you, and a very timely one because the whole idea of making a lot out of nothing is kind of what we've been doing throughout the pandemic. It's what my family have been doing this week since we can't get to the grocery store or get groceries delivered, is making a lot, making the most of what we have when we have very little to make it with. If you are new, and thank you, there are new folks here, welcome. And of course, welcome all you regular visitors. I am Tom Stimson. I'm president of the Stimson Group. I advise small, medium enterprises, primarily in the live event space, to help their businesses grow and make money. And right now, we could all use a lot of that. So demand is good, but I could always be better. So if I can help you with anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I have lots of ways to keep in touch. I've got lots of lead magnets. I got lots of newsletters. Feel free to sign up and get all the free that you can. But when free is not enough, you know how to reach me. So this phrase, this "may you live in interesting times," is an ancient Chinese curse. And the first time I heard it was actually in a Terry Pratchett book. And I immediately assumed that it was some sort of a blessing. And then I dissected the sentence and realized that no, indeed, and in certainly the context of the book, it is not. We have lived in interesting times for a year now, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So we don't want interesting times. We want boring times. We may want challenge. Well, we don't even want challenging times. We want to be engaged. We want to be enthused. We want to be excited. But interesting, I've had enough interesting. I don't know about you. So with that in mind, I want to do a quick update, as I've been doing in these monthly webinars, about what you should be thinking about now in terms of the pandemic before I roll into this webinar. So with that, what should we be marketing right now? So this is a marketing webinar, but I want to give you that 80,000 foot view of what are your marketing priorities or strategies? What should they be for the rest of this year? Because marketing is not something we do for next week and then we get a prospect and then we quit marketing. Marketing is something we do all of the time. And the farther ahead you plan, the better results you're going to get, because you can develop the content and the promotions and the things that you need to do to keep that marketing going into the future. So here in 2021, still in a pandemic, we're still not able to gather to do events. Our core businesses are still compromised. Our streaming businesses might be doing well, but there's maybe not enough of it. So what should we be focused on? So Q1, which we are in the middle of, you should be right now focused, I think, on Q2 events. What would I be talking about? A lot of the Q2 events are what I would call amateur hour events. It's the graduations, the spring flings, the non-corporate style events, a little bit of a social calendar. Sometimes we start to see that. Things you might not have done 2 years ago, but look pretty inviting right now. For those events, I would be focused right now on talking about safety, talking about contingencies, giving them fresh ideas of how to make it more interesting than last year's early attempt at having a virtual event or a streaming event or a graduation drive-through or a drive-in theater. We're better at it now. Let's talk about those things. But I would always lead with safety for your crew, safety for the attendees, safety for the client, and then contingencies as things change, which we see an awful lot of these days. For the second quarter, we should be focused on Q3 and Q4. Now, in that regard, we're going to see a lot more what we hope will be hybrid events. But in reality, they won't really be hybrid events. They're going to be streaming events, maybe with a small audience, or they may be planning for a hybrid event, knowing that they can pull it back to a streaming only event when they need to make that decision. So in Q2, start talking about that. Get your clients. I know they've got stuff penciled in. You guys have told me that you've seen a lot of activity for Q3 and 4 that you hope will happen. Start talking to those customers about how they can start engaging their audiences before the event and keep them engaged afterwards, and how you can help with that. Um, talk about, what are the decisions about go or no go, about actually having the in-person portion of it, and of course, how to make that portion safe. Always keep that in mind. And then in Q3, um, start delivering messages about 2022. We all hope that we're going to transition to hybrid events in 2022. Let me be clear about what I mean by hybrid event. To me, a hybrid event is where the remote audience and the in-person audience are equally important in terms of focus. That when we are putting on the event, whatever's happening on stage or wherever it's originating from, both audiences are equally important, which means that they get the same amount of production value. Very often, as many of you have learned, you have to have a producer for the in-person side and a separate producer for the streaming side, because we're running them through a different signal path routing, and there's different sensibilities about what those audiences need to see. So start talking about that transition to when both audiences are equal, rather than what we're seeing now, which is a streaming audience, maybe with a studio audience in there. So one type of hybrid, which is a small studio audience. The other type is a small streaming audience. I don't really consider those hybrids. I consider those fairly normal. It's either a streaming event or it's an in-person event. A streaming event can have a small in-person. An in-person event can have a small streaming. A hybrid event, both audiences are important. Help your clients understand what's going to be different about doing a hybrid event that they are not used to seeing right now. Then in Q4, I want you to be able, and I hope for you to be able to talk about scarcity and talk about planning, how your customers need to start making decisions and lining up their suppliers early, locking them in. You have 60 or 90 days of pre-production that needs to be done for your April event, which means that you've got to start in January, which means you better have your supplier locked in by December. So let's talk about that, and what are some of the options of going to hybrid, and how you can, plan a stream and then convert it to a hybrid, and how that looks. What's the planning process of that, in case they want to go the other direction, rather than planning for in-person and dropping to hybrid, planning for streaming and bumping to hybrid. Talk about that, but also remind everybody that you're going to run out of capacity, and you will. 2022, by all accounts, is going to be fantastic. We're going to have a huge amount of demand. We're going to have a limited amount of supply. And hopefully that will mean that you're going to have higher margins. You're going to be as busy as you want to be. And it's going to be a seller's market. And we want to keep that going as long as we possibly can. So there's my quick marketing overview on this. Now let's get down to this particular webinar. And why are we doing this? Why are we having this particular webinar conversation? Well, this is also why did I write the book, but look, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what a sales funnel is and how it works. I want to clarify that for you. I want to show you how it works, how you move people through the funnel, and all the things that you should be doing to grow your business and create demand. Typically, the companies that I encounter spend way too much time focused at the bottom of the funnel. They want that opportunity, and anybody who doesn't have an opportunity, we don't have any time for them. We don't want to talk to them. We want them to go away until they have an RFP or a job that we can talk about. If they can't tell us the dates of their event, I've even heard people say they want to drop them out of their CRM system because they're talking in theory. It's like, no. In a changing dynamic environment like we are living in right now, these interesting times that we're living in, neglecting any part of your funnel can be catastrophic. And certainly with the feast of business we were having a year ago before the pandemic started, many of you were ignoring your funnel because you had so much business at the bottom of your funnel, you didn't have to pay any attention to the top of your funnel. But that business at the bottom of your funnel was not necessarily ideal. It was not necessarily the right margins. You spent a lot of time in working with those clients, trying to get it to be the kind of job that you really want to do. And then in the end, you kind of had to sell on desperation because you'd planned on doing the event. And now the customers got you up against the wall and they can say, hey, everything we talked about, but I want to pay 20% less. And you're kind of stuck taking it. And even though we had so much business pre-pandemic, it wasn't necessarily good business because our top of our funnels were neglected. Okay. And we were only getting the people who forced themselves down into your delivery system and not the people who should have been attracted to you and that you were trying to attract in the first place. So that's what this webinar is all about. How do we, it's not too late to get started. Yeah, we're a little behind the 8 ball in terms of business and demand out there. All the more reason that you should be spending your time and energy right now on marketing, understanding how to be better marketers, which means that you can also understand how to be better salespeople, because that's an important part of the process. So marketing, business development, sales all have proactive roles that they can play to move prospects through your funnel. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we move on, quick reminder, my book, Demand, How to Build a Smarter Sales Funnel So You Can Turn Down Better Business, is available on Amazon. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is also in the book. We're going to cover maybe half of a chapter here today. So there's some good stuff in there. Please order some copies for yourself. And I look forward to hearing your reaction to it. The reviews are very good. Pop on Amazon, take a look at it, make your own decision, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised what a useful book it has turned out to be. Okay, so let's talk about why the entire funnel is important, right? Customers don't come to you ready to buy. If they did, that would be super easy. The guy who's selling ice cream cones on the beach in the summer has a pretty easy job of marketing. All he's got to do is make sure people know that, the snow cone stand is open. It's not hard. Our businesses are different. We have several things that we want to accomplish in our funnel. The top of our funnel is there to weed out the people who aren't going to be right for you, or you are not going to be right for them. It's kind of a two-way street. And we want that top of the funnel working so that we can focus more of our energy on the middle of the funnel, where we can start to put in some human touches to help guide that ideal buyer along. So the entire funnel is important. Do your customers know if they are right for you? If they're asking you, well, what kind of client are you looking for? What kind of jobs do you do? Then our funnel is not working. We should be able to deliver that information to them, let them learn that for themselves so that they can move themselves down through the funnel. Now, what is the goal of our funnel? Our goal of the funnel is somewhere between that middle and bottom of the funnel. We're going to get a great conversation with somebody who's really well suited to work with. Okay, best fit prospects. How do we get them to that part of the funnel where we can connect? That's what the top and the middle of the funnel are going to do for you. Now, your customers are in a state of mind. Your potential customers are in a state of mind. Early stage customers are just now figuring out that they might potentially have a need, but they don't know what it is, right? We don't want to put too much of a burden on them. The worst question that I hear this year in sales conversations is when the customer calls and says, we have a streaming event, and the salesperson says, well, tell us what you need. Well, they don't know what they need. That's why they called you. So an early stage customer is aware that they have a need. They just don't know what that need is. And we want to meet that need, that awareness of need, with some information that they will find interesting and illuminate them about what it is that they're going to want to have for their particular need. How are they going to fulfill that need? And in the process of doing that, in the process of educating this potential customer, we're also educating them about us. about why we are important, why we are credible, why they would want to do business with us. And if they start to see that alignment, then they might move into the situation where, okay, I think we can do an event. I think we need to find a partner like these guys. And now they're in the consideration stage. And so they're reaching out to you saying, hey, tell me more about how you work. I think we might have something for you. Okay. Now, we get that call all the time, but I want that call from somebody who is better educated about what we do and what we think is important and can tell me why that aligns with their needs. Okay. So the ideal thing is somebody calls up and says, hey, I just read this thing on your website. It's like you were in my head. You were reading my mind. Here's the problem that we're having. Tell me how you would solve it. How can we work together? Okay, that's a great starter for a conversation. Our funnel should be creating that moment for us. And once we get down into that decision-making stage, most of us are good at that. If you have somebody who's ready to buy and we can match what they need and what they want to spend to what we want to provide, we can close the deal. However, I don't want to have that conversation with 10 buyers in order to close one. If I have it with 10 buyers, I want to close 8. So we want to increase your close rate and spend less time marketing through proposals, spend less time doing business development through pitches. Okay, I want to get all of that stuff out of the way, and I want to pitch and I want to propose to people that really want to be there and have made a decision to work with you or figure out if working with you is the right thing to do. So the entire funnel is important. We have to put energy into all of those things. Now, why do we move people through your funnel? Well, let me preface this by saying that it's okay if they stay somewhere at the top of your funnel. It's okay if they stay at the top of your funnel. Maybe they're not ready to buy. Maybe they're not an ideal buyer, but perhaps they're an advocate or an evangelist. So don't get all prejudiced about where people are in the funnel. Anywhere in your funnel is good as long as you are actively serving that part of your funnel. In order to have a working funnel, though, you need more people at the top so there is someone to trickle down. There's a reason it's an inverted cone. Too many of you have a cylinder, and anyone that enters at the top is immediately targeted as a buyer, or they're discarded because they are not a buyer, and we waste that contact. So instead of excess work that you want, you are desperate for whatever job happens to make it to the bottom of your cylinder, and then you're going to end up selling on price. You want to win anything that you can, and we're trying to fix that problem. You need to have more choices so that you can say no to better business, right? So we break the funnel into steps, right? I use 4 steps. I've seen funnels with 10 or more. Everybody's a little bit different about how they do that. But for sake of brevity and clarity, since I know most of your business as well, I find that 4 does a pretty darn good job for what we're trying to do. So on the left, we see the stages of engagement that we just kind of talked about, awareness, interest, consideration, decision. And we want to give the visitor or the prospect the opportunity to navigate through those stages of awareness, right? So early stage prospects are typically aware that they have some sort of a need, right? Which is what brought them to you in the first place. And we'll talk about how they get to you in a minute. If we can tap into that need, typically with a headline or a blog title, a tool, we can develop their interest in a solution for their need. Okay. Now, one type of marketing is focused on creating a need and convincing people that they have it. Okay. The perfect example, because one recently appeared in my house, is Instapot, right? Nobody needed an Instapot until marketers told us that we needed dinner in 20 minutes. Okay. And so how do you fulfill that need for dinner in 20 minutes? Well, the first thing you do is you convince people that their lifestyle dictates that they have to be able to put together a fantastic dinner in 20 minutes. Awareness. Yes, I should be able to put dinner on table in 20 minutes. Here's a way to do it effectively, reliably, and deliver good results. Oh, okay. Now you have my interest, right? So you fulfill that need for dinner in 20 minutes. is answering, how you fulfill that need is answering the question about their interest. Under consideration, you might decide what size of Instapot you want, how soon you want to buy it, all sorts of things. Now I'm considering how I'm going to acquire one. And am I going to buy the Instapot brand, or am I going to buy somebody else's brand? Because let's face it, a pressure cooker is a pressure cooker. What am I going to do? That's the consideration phase. Okay. The next step is to buy. Okay, that's that conversion stage. So consumer products are good examples of funnels of work, but buyers of services, which are your customers, move a little bit differently. So how do we create movement in the funnel? When we're dealing with service buyers, their needs are rarely immediate. Okay. They don't have impulse buys like an Instapot. Okay, but they often have a definite timeline, at least in the events world. In the installation environment, the built environment, that timeline is aspirational. We'd like to get this project done in May, but it's going to get postponed because of construction, blah, 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 blah. The goal for the top of your funnel is to stay connected by either being attractive enough that they return back to your website to find out what's going on or learn more, or getting them to follow you and subscribe to you so that you can communicate with them more directly. Now, obviously, that's more ideal. Getting an email address from somebody so I can communicate with them directly is better, but I have to have something to communicate. In other words, I have to put energy into that part of the funnel. You know, that weekly or monthly newsletter, that webinar, monthly or quarterly, whatever it might be, the open houses, the lunch and learns, all these things that you can do to keep that top of your funnel engaged. This is why all that stuff's important, because when it is time for them to have a timed need, you want to make sure that they are still thinking of you. So your goal is get an email address and permission to send them something useful on a regular basis. And that will move them that will get them poised at the bottom of the top of the funnel. So that eventually you can move them from the top to the middle of the funnel, which requires that we get them to interact with you somehow. So we can get them to engage through email communications, digital marketing. We can get them to interact by offering a human. Digital marketing, and 90% of what I'm going to describe for you is free. You already have the tools. It doesn't cost you anything except the effort of doing this. But interacting with humans is expensive, and it's a limited resource that you should be focused mostly at the middle and bottom of your funnel. So we want to make sure that we hold back access to people until it makes sense to do so. But I need something to help move that potential buyer through the funnel to get to where the humans are waiting for them, right? So to move from top to middle requires that we get the prospect to interact with you somehow. And to do this, you need to put energy into all levels of your funnel. You can't ignore anything. That's the hard part, right? But it doesn't have to be like pushing a boulder up a hill or pushing sand up a hill. A little drip of energy into all of these things, and having a plan, knowing that there's an annual calendar that you can be working with, knowing that you can schedule content and blog posts and even social media posts weeks and months in advance is all there. It makes it easier for you to do something consistent and well. So to create movement in the funnel, be discoverable, right? People need to be able to find you. They have to be able to find you on social media. They have to be able to find you on the internet. This is not that hard to do, but when they do find you, you need to be relevant, attractive, and credible as quickly as possible. I shouldn't have to look all through your website to find out where the there is. If I'm on your website for more than 30 seconds and I can't find the there is no there. So make your there, make the why you are there very apparent very, very quickly. So once they're there and they find the there that they're looking for, they are effectively in the top of your funnel. I've met their basic needs. I've given them some information. They've learned a little bit about me. I need to create a call to action for them to stay connected. Oh yeah, bookmark this page. I mean, how often do you go back to all the pages that are bookmarked in your browser? Okay, that call to action makes it easier for them to stay connected. We need to make it a low impact, low threat. Um, Ask for an email address, maybe a first name, nothing more. All of those contact me pages, or start a conversation or submit your RFP pages, where you've got 10 things that they have to fill out, including the timetable for their event. Who wants to fill that out? It will not be a qualified prospect. Okay, it'll be somebody who's given up and they're just going to fill it out because they don't know any better. So meet their basic needs, make it easy to stay connected. Once they are connected, now we can start working on moving them into the middle of the funnel, which is getting them ready to have a conversation with us. So I'm going to give them more knowledge. I'm going to contact them a little bit more often. I'm going to give them more opportunities to connect, create a clear path to working together, not be judgy about when they come around to working us together, because we have no control. They have no control over when their need will be. We just want to make sure that in the meantime, we are serving them well. We are relevant to their existence. We're helping them make their lives better in some way so that they'll remember to talk to us when they actually are ready to spend money. And once we get them into the middle and we're moving them into the bottom, because we are actually engaging with an opportunity, which is the first time the word has come up, opportunity, bottom of the funnel. Now I've got to kick in those key differentiators, which are better conveyed through human interaction. That's why that pitch, that closing conversation, that needs assessment, all of these things are great ways of differentiating your business, that you can do a lot of it in digital marketing, but you can really bring it home when you have the humans talking to the humans. Okay. Now, let's talk about being discoverable. Marketing and networking is the 1-2 punch for funnel movement. So for all of you serial networkers out there that say it's all about relationships and we've got to get out there and I've got to send business development out there, nobody wants to talk to a website, I hear you. We need both of you. Here's what you are doing in each stage of funnel development. Making the target aware of you, that being discoverable. It's the zero. It's the part before they've actually entered your funnel. We're going to do this in marketing with social media shares. We're going to put up blogs and videos and put them out there where people can find them. We might actually buy some ads or do some sponsorship so that we can catch a few more eyeballs. We can put on offer events that are a very low barrier to entry and broadly market them through social media and other contacts. And it's a wide net. It's a really wide net, but it is the top of your funnel, right? The networking version of that is going to an event. It's going to a conference. It's walking through the room. It's handing out business cards. It's doing chit chat. Okay. Marketing at a broad level is mostly free. And you can get a lot more done and you can get a lot more people aware of you and potentially engage with you through marketing than you can networking. But I agree, I will stipulate to the value of personal networking at events. Be visible, be attractive. At the end of the conversation, ask to connect. Okay. Get the next conversation. Get permission to email them, get permission to call them, whatever it is. Otherwise, it's just a way. Coming back from a conference with a stack of business cards is useless. I could have gotten those business cards for 1/100th of the cost simply by putting a post on Facebook. But you put somebody on an airplane, you flew them across the country, you sent them to a cocktail party. They probably bought somebody a fancy steak dinner and a nice bottle of wine to come back with a stack of business cards that I could have gotten more business cards more easily digitally. Having said that, networking is still important. Now, once I've got them in the top of the funnel and I want to cultivate interest, the marketing version of this is to provide gated content. We call these lead magnets or entry point offers. I got them there to look at your free blog, but here's a little pop-up or an ad or a highlight or a box that says, hey, would you like this tool also that's relevant to this blog? In order to get that tool, All they need to do is share their email address and I'll send them the PDF, whatever it might be. All of this can be automated, by the way, so that somebody can help move themselves through the funnel. So they take that awareness, they found an interest in your blog post, and they're now on their website, on your website, and they're going, oh, this is even more interesting. Oh, this will help me. This is created exactly for somebody like me. It increases your credibility. It brings them closer to engagement with you. And we're moving them through the funnel, right? Those people are much more likely to have the right conversation with you when it is time to have a conversation. Now, the networking version of this is the ad hoc networking. It's going to a room where you know your potential buyers actually are. It's going to the MPI meeting or attending BizBash or whatever, where you think your targeted buyer is going to be, walking around doing the business introductions, trying to slide your elevator pitch in there and see if you get any bites. And if you do get a bite, maybe have a few seconds of conversation that you both agree to do the next step, do the coffee, do the lunch, do the phone call, shoot an email, share a resource. That is the in-person business development version of top of the funnel marketing. Make sense? Now, we're in the middle of the funnel now. We want to trigger that consideration. We've engaged with them. You're interesting, you're credible, but we want them to start thinking about maybe buying your version of Instapot instead of somebody else's version of Instapot. This is where the capabilities pitches and the demos and the things that are unique to your business start to come into play. So we're going to invite these people who are already in our funnel to engage with you. Hey, we're having a discussion group on the state of streaming events in 2022. Why don't you come join us? We're having a webinar or a training session. Here's a case study I'd love to share with you. They're behind the gate, but we can still continue to offer gated content to people who've accepted gated content before, because it helps us hone in on what their interests and needs actually are. Registered in-person events are great when you can have those again. The coffee clatches, and things that you guys have been putting on at your places, or did a lot of these pre-pandemic, are going to be great. And this summer, when we can start doing them again, once we have the vaccination rates and that sort of thing up, then these are going to become very important again. So we're getting them to register for that event, whether they attend or not, doesn't matter. The fact that they registered for it is huge, because it gives me a reason to reach back out to them and say, hey, we did a little presentation that you missed, but if you'd like to see it, here it is, and I'd love to talk to you about it. So another reason to engage with them. Now, the networking portion of this is at that event, you're networking with engaged followers. So I want my business development people at these in-person events that we create, or at an event where I know that my followers are going to be there, or your business followers are going to be there, so that they can not do the elevator pitch, verify their engagement level, find out what's on their mind, look at their horizon. What's their business forecast look like? Have you had our demo? Have you had the pitch? Are you aware that we know how to do this? Are you aware that we know how to do this? Which is what most clients are surprised to find out. All the things that you do that they didn't know about. Okay. Here's a way for that human to get in there and start getting them to consider you. It's like, well, oh, I didn't know you guys did 3D animation as well. It'd be really cool to have that. Okay. Now we're getting them on to something else. We're scheduling something else for them to help educate them, share our knowledge with them, get them more and more engaged with us. Now, once we get to the bottom of the funnel and we're actually dealing with an opportunity and we're trying to put a piece of business together, marketing's role is to provide us a good project or proposal onboarding sequence. It doesn't have to stop, and it doesn't have to be only a sales-driven process. Relying on salespeople to send the right emails at the right time, update them on how to do things in your business or whatever. This is not the right time for a salesperson to forget to do something. We can automate a lot of that in marketing. The networking that goes on is that converting a bow tie to a diamond. right? So business development, when we're at the bottom of the funnel, their job is to get out of it. Okay. They've had that one-to-one relationship where they were managing the bow tie, where they and the customer are working together to keep everybody else apart. Now it's time to turn that bow tie around and create that diamond. And that's the role of business development. That's the role of networking at the decision level. How do I get them from just talking to me to talking to many people in my organization? And better yet, many people in my organization are talking to many people in their organization. Okay, that's where we're trying to get. So business development has a role also in moving our customers through the funnel. Wow. So it sounds like a lot of activity, but if you think about it, you're already doing all of these things on an ad hoc basis. We want to do these on a more intentional basis, and that will help us keep that funnel full. We want to be very liberal about who we get into the top of the funnel. We want to be a little bit more selective about who we move into the middle, and we want to be very precise about who we move into the bottom of the funnel. Now, business development, the question I'm going to get asked, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it, is how much time should business development be spending on these activities, and where should business development be spending their activities? This chart is not great to look at. Sorry about that. I think that business development should spend about 70% of their time in the middle of the funnel. You know, getting those people, trying to get them to make the decision to consider you, moving them into a consideration stage where they're getting a demo, a capabilities pitch, introducing them to more of the team. That's where business development can really have an impact. They do need to spend some time at the top of the funnel, you know, networking, doing some of those events, making some appearances at things where they can evangelize your business. Even sometimes a little bit of time at the discovery level, which is above your funnel, by going to other people's networking events where you don't have a presence, where you don't have followers, but not a ton of time out there. The bottom of the funnel, a little bit of time, because they are a great person for the customer to check back with and let them know if it's not going the way they want it to go, so that we can make some adjustments. But again, we want to get them out of the process, but we want to keep them as a resource. Okay. They can pop their head in. My best example for this was many years ago, and I've told the story before, but forgive me, I'm going to tell it again. My wife and I were buying a car, and we found a salesman who understood our pain. We had literally just been thrown out of a dealer for offering $100 less than the price they had on the sticker. And they escorted us to the door, literally. So we went down the street, we shared this story. The salesperson got it. They slid an offer across the table, which was lower than the offer we were going to make. We said, we'll take the deal. I said, but I don't want to go through a long drawn out process closing this deal and be sold on undercoating and car mats and insurance and all this other stuff. He goes, don't worry, I'll get you out of here quickly. So 20 minutes or 30 minutes into the process of closing, he stuck his head in the door. Business development, stick the head in the door. How's it going? And I said, if we're not out of here in 10 minutes, you can keep the damn car. We were out of there in 10 minutes. So that's what business development can do for you at the bottom of the funnel. It's rare, but it can happen. And there was an example of where it really made a difference. It was a great car, by the way. I promised in the promos for this, I would give you a little of an assessment. So I'm going to give you a self-assessment here to see how healthy your funnel is right now. I do this. I've been doing this with a lot of my clients lately as they're getting the book and they're wanting to work through their funnel process. So let me take you through the short version of this. So take a look at your social media, whatever it might be. And you may have none, in which case your self-assessment is going to be very simple. When somebody visits your social media page, does your post or whatever you put on there tell them something interesting about who you are as a business? Why are you that way? Or why it will benefit them, the visitor? If it doesn't tell them any of those things, okay, we're missing the point of social media. Does your post link to something on your website that's relevant? Is there a call to action to leave social media and go to your website? The whole purpose of social media for business is to get your prospect off of social media and over on your website. Now, you can maintain top of the funnel people through social media, but we're trying to get them away from there so that we can move them through your funnel. Okay. If they're just following us on social media, I don't have their email address. They're not on my newsletter list. I don't have any other way of getting in touch with them. And they're going to stay at the very top of my funnel, not doing anybody very much good. If I can get them to my website every once in a while, I have the opportunity to capture their email, get them into the funnel a little bit, and move them from the awareness stage to the interest stage. From the top of the funnel to the next level of the funnel, and where we can engage with them potentially down the road. Okay, so your social media page needs to do that. So start with something interesting, then provide something helpful, then offer something valuable in exchange for email and permissions. That's the sequence. Social media is just where we start. Now, when somebody visits your website, is there a clear path to immediately contact you by email, phone, or chat? Why? Because sometimes that's what people want to do. They don't want to sit in the top of your funnel. They don't want to go through a process. They actually have a need or a question. Do you provide a way to do that? And it's okay. I mean, some people like the little chat box on the bottom where they can communicate with somebody as long as somebody responds to it. But why are you hiding your phone numbers? Why are you making it so hard for people to reach out to you? Make it really, really easy. And I'm not worried. I know I've heard all the stories about spam. If you don't know how to manage spam, find somebody who does, because it should not be a problem. So when they visit your website, can they learn something useful about whether they should contact you or not? Okay. Are they going to learn something, or are they going to look at a list of services and look at a list of pictures? Are you going to teach them anything? Are you going to make them smarter? Or are you just going to talk about yourself? Okay. Does that visitor have multiple opportunities to learn? Can they opt in to learn more? Can they subscribe? Can they follow you? Can they register for something? Is that opportunity out there? They may not take it, but the offer needs to be there. Okay. And here's the hard one. Is there new content on your website every week or month? If I click on the news header on your website and go to your news page, is your last news 3 months after your website was updated a year and a half ago? Okay. And that tells me a lot about your business. So when they visit your website, make sure they're getting the experience that you want. Offer something helpful, and give them the opportunity to share more about themselves if they want to, but be useful. Now, look at your process. When someone contacts you about a project or a need, is there a clear process that you go through before pricing is shared? And be honest. So many of you are so anxious to get a proposal in anybody's hands. You ask a few questions, you tell them, I know exactly what you need. You write a proposal and you send it to them. That is not a clear process. Do you have any kind of a needs assessment? And it doesn't have to be 5 phone calls. A needs assessment, some capabilities presentation, a budget range discussion, and a draft scope of work. And honestly, for some projects, you can do all of those 4 things in one phone call. Okay. You have the skill to do this, but you've got to have that checklist in front of you to remind you to go through these steps, or go through the needs assessment, do some capabilities presentation, and then schedule a draft scope of work and a budget range conversation. Okay. That's process. Okay. Prospects that don't want to partake in this process are never going to buy from you in a mutually beneficial way. If they don't remain in your funnel and receive regular updates from you, you don't need them. Okay. Focus on the people who do. Don't focus on the people who don't. So, all right. Wow, that went quickly. I'm going to answer some questions here in just a minute. Bob, thank you for the shout out on the book. It is an easy read, so you will get it through it quickly. Many people have gotten through it in one sitting, so please take a look at all of that. So get some questions ready. And let me, again, remind you, get the book. You're sitting in front of a computer. Now's a great time to do it. Go ahead and click, Google, Amazon it, whatever it is that you need to do, and get that book on your way. So the question is, are you ready to grow and make money? Are you ready to grow again and make money again? Okay. What's keeping you from growing? What are your obstacles to making money? And how can we work together to fix those things? If you will give me 20 minutes of your time, we can work on that now. Can I help identify you what's keeping you from growing? What's keeping you from making money? Yes, some of it's low-hanging fruit right now in a pandemic, but there is the opportunity to grow and make money right now. And I have clients that are really doing well in the streaming world or in whatever their pandemic pivot is. And you could be too. So here's how you schedule that call. Let's see if we can work together, see if there's something I can help you with. However, if you're not ready to grow and make money and you just want to fix the nagging problem that's in front of you right now, schedule a call for a business survival call. Let's dive into it. I'm not going to sell you anything. You got a timely problem. Lay it out for me. I'll give you the answer. I'll tell you what to do next. You can go off and do it. And when you're ready to talk about growing all the time, we'll do that. So the intro call is here. There's the QR code. There you go. Grab it. And the survival call is right here. But honestly, if you go to my website and you go to the contact me page and you click on the intro call, you'll get that meeting there as well. So there's lots of ways to get hold of me if you didn't catch that QR code. Next webinar. Social media. The big question is, what is it am I supposed to be doing on social media? And I'm going to talk about how to post for your business on social media. I want to talk about how it's all supposed to work. Now, social media is largely responsible for getting leads into the top of your funnel. We're going to explore the how to do that and what comes next, because once you got them in your funnel, we've got to do the next thing. So I'm going to take you all through that. I'm going to give you all the reasons why posting thoughtfully on social media with a purpose, with a goal, is going to help you grow your business so you can make more money. It's going to be a great webinar. I'm very excited about this topic. So summary, again, put some questions in here. I'm happy to answer some questions. Use the Q&A box. Summary, get leads into your funnel continuously. You need to figure out how to do this all the time. Okay. You need to provide for this year round. So systemizing it is great. Creating a process for it is great. Knowing what to do comes first, and hence the book, hence working together, because I can help you with that. Once they're in the funnel, we want to passively pull those leads lower into the funnel. We want digital energy to do this for us. It's free. It doesn't take up any of your time. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it will pull those leads down into your vision. Okay. And we also want to provide a clear path for opportunities to connect with humans. So if you've got a client with opportunities, we want to make it real easy for them to connect with a human. And I want you to have a process for onboarding that prospect so that we get to the right conclusion as quickly and efficiently as possible. Everybody should be happy, even if you don't do business together. So that's the message I'm delivering here today. It's been fun, as always, talking to you guys. Let's see what we have for any questions at all. All right. So somebody's asking me about customer training sessions. Is a customer training session, is that top of the funnel? Is that middle of the funnel? A customer offering training to customers so that they can do something in your space. I consider that that's probably a middle of the funnel activity. You have people in your funnel already that you've done business with, that you've engaged with deeply. You have their email address. That's a great thing to offer them to help them re-engage with you. The trick here is framing it for them in a way that they see the benefit to them more than the benefit to you. So the mistake that most of us make when we're offering training to customers on whatever that topic may be, um, how to keep attendees on a meeting, how to structure a streaming event, that sort of thing, is that we're creating a self-serving thing where we are part of the solution, and that's not how this is supposed to work. Okay, that's your capabilities. That's with somebody who has an opportunity that's come to you saying, I think I'd like to work together. Tell me how to work with you. That's when I talk about that. Somebody who's up in the middle of the funnel, I want to continue to educate them and make them smarter. And the fact that I'm delivering that information raises my credibility, makes me the expert, the thought leader, the visionary, and let that drive them down towards the bottom of your funnel. Well, okay, I'm going to answer the question I want to answer here. What do you recommend for a simple, affordable CRM to manage all of this data from our digital marketing efforts? So don't overcomplicate this. This is not that complex. You don't necessarily need a CRM. You just need the wherewithal to do the email management. But if you want to automate some things, having a CRM that will work with your website, or being able to take data entry points from your CRM and put them on your website is easiest. So any CRM will do this. They will give you the widget that you can put on your website so that you can sign up for a newsletter. It drops them into the CRM. Now, which CRM to use? Okay, if you got a ton of money and a ton of time, Salesforce is fantastic. If you don't have a ton of money, but you have a ton of time, Sugar CRM is Salesforce Lite. Those are, and there's a free version of Sugar CRM if you're a small business. But there are hundreds of other platforms that are CRM platforms that you can use. The main thing that you're looking for is a way to get input, user-created input from your website into the CRM that will tag them with a keyword, so that when you put out a newsletter, it automatically goes to everybody with that tag. So if they sign up for the newsletter, that gives them a keyword in your CRM. When you send a newsletter, it goes into your CRM, the CRM sends it, and it goes to everybody with that tag and any other tags that you want to put on there. HubSpot is a great all-in-one platform, and Fusionsoft is a great all-in-one platform. These are very expensive. There's a lot of implementation there. I use a product called Drip. There are several other products that you should probably consider, but hey, I've got a solution for you. This is self-serving. If you buy my book and you'll post a review on Amazon, on the book page, thedemandbook.com, there's a place for you to post your review, and I will send you a free chapter, which are software tools that will be very helpful for you in your digital marketing. So I've got a giveaway for you. I've got some gated content for you that I'd be happy to send you. That answers a little bit more of that question. So thanks for asking. Like I said, I use a product called Drip. I use a lot of intermediary products like Zapier and stuff that connect things together. I don't have a single platform system like some folks would have, but I also have a marketing team that helps me do all of this. So we pick and choose the pieces that we want. Another question: how do you find the best subject for your lead magnet when you don't think you have something to share that people find important or able to educate them on? Awesome. Great question. How do I find the best content or subject for my lead magnet? Guess what? There's a whole chapter in the book on this, but this has to do with understanding who your target customer is. So if I can describe my target customer, create a persona, this can be a very simple process. She's a meeting planner who's 35 to 45 years old, drives a Prius, likes beach vacations and Italian food. Okay. Lives slightly above her means and in a downtown setting. Great. There's a persona. If I know that person, I can figure out what the questions that she is frequently going to ask. And the thing is, you already know what these questions are because that's what people have been asking you. So look at your frequently asked questions, and we don't want to answer frequently asked questions. We want to convert them to the questions that they should be asking. Okay. Now, what's an example? A frequently asked question is, how can I get this for the least amount of money? All right, that's a perfectly good question, but that's not the question they should be asking. The question they should be asking is, how do I spend my money wisely? Well, let's create a tool for that person, and let's call it, here are the 10 things that tell me that you're not going to spend your money wisely. And now I create a list of 10 things that are indicators to me that you're going to make you, the buyer, are going to make an irrational decision. And here's what you can do about it. Now, I don't know about you. I'd download that. I'd give up my email address for that because I want to see that list. I want to read about myself because I'm not going to do all 10 of those things. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff right, and I'm going to learn about that. So that's how you create a subject. You take their frequently asked question, you convert it to the question they really should be asking, and you create a title that would be interesting to somebody who would ask that frequently asked question that they would want to click on, and then you build something for it. I start, and when I'm building lead magnets, I start with the title. Then I figure out what the content should be. Sometimes the content should be a blog post. Sometimes it should be a video, a 90-second video. There's lots of ways you can do. So figure out what the question should be asked is, answer it with a pithy, counterintuitive, funny, interesting title, and you will get people to click on it. So thank you for that question. So with all of that, we're out of time here. This has been great. Thank you for your questions. If you have more questions, please shoot me an email. Thank you, everybody who is downloading your book right now or ordering it for yourself. I do appreciate it. And you are registered for next month because that's how this works. So I will see you at next month's webinar. And in the meantime, be well, be safe, and stay warm.